Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Hope you had a great weekend. Okay, let's dive straight into it. Last week we, aired this particular subject matter, talking about local councils' autonomy that the Supreme Court handed to the autonomy that Supreme Court handed to the local governments. Now they have financial autonomy. It hasn't been the case. They've been laboring, shall we say, under the yoke of the heavy-handedness of state governments up and down the land. There's a joint account. Apparently, they've been able to manipulate this. And so the local councils have not had the financial autonomy that they desired. And we've seen that it wasn't a matter of asking them nicely and that they would then comply and do the right thing, the legal thing. But now the Supreme Court has spoken on the matter, has pronounced upon the matter, and some governors have said, I was a bit curious when I saw that expression, that they take the decision of the Supreme Court in good faith. This was a matter that was taken to the Supreme Court by the Attorney General of the Federation. It's President Bwala initiative. Okay, our guest this morning is an expert in such matters, Dr. Daniel Bwala. He's a lawyer and he's a policy analyst. He's UK-based, and so we're glad to have you. Good morning. Thank you for making time for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yori. Good morning, and thank you to your viewers.
Indeed. Okay. Well, over in the UK, as I said, we aired this subject last week, but there's been so much commentary on it, and it is continuing. And I'm happy that our people in the diaspora are weighing in on the subject as well. How do you feel about it? I imagine that the local councils feel great about it, but there are those who have said that, yeah, it sounds good, but there are other aspects of the Constitution that need to be addressed for this to come to its full level of desirability. I don't know, as a lawyer yourself, no doubt familiar with the Nigerian Constitution, what would be your general commentary on the happy event for local government councils?
Right. So good morning, and thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
I think those who have contrary view are in the minority, because I've been observing since the decision of the Supreme Court, there is no part of Nigeria and all sector of Nigeria that people are not showing their excitement. For example, I have seen majority of lawyers in Nigeria welcome the idea. Opposition welcome the idea. People from the marketplace welcome the idea. And people at the local government level, in fact, are the overjoyous one. And the local government is 774. So it has no connection to a particular section of the country. It's all over Nigeria. I even saw people from the southeast Nigeria were singing the song of President Bwala. So in a nutshell, it's a welcome development because of what where we're coming from and what we have suffered as a result of state government controlling the local council. Like 21 states of the Federation, they still have caretaker council because the governors want to control the local government. But that is not the import of the Constitution. That's not the provision of the Constitution. If you look at Section 2, you look at Section 7, in part of the Constitution makes it clear a democratically elected local government council is guaranteed. When you see the word guaranteed in the Constitution, it's a connotation. It's just like the human rights that everybody is entitled to. Then, of course, if you go to the fourth schedule to the Constitution, you have an understanding of what the local government is all about, because it is not just an administration where you have the local government chairman and there may be public servants only. If you look at the fourth schedule, in fact, if you look at the fourth schedule, the functionality of the local council is even much more than the activities in the state, because government is at the level of the local council. They say all politics is local. Take, for example, they take care of participating with the state government in shaping economic policy, shaping educational policy, participating in even healthcare services. They also determine, for example, rate, chieftaincy rate, construction of road, maintenance of names of roads, traditional title, graveyards. All of these things are matters within the precincts of the local government administration. So for President Bwala Tinubu to take that bold step and approach the court so we can have a guaranteed, democratically elected local government council, I think is one of the biggest achievements of his administration. And that deepens democracy. That's what I want to say in a general sense.
Okay. Now, one of the questions that we sort of explored the last time we spoke about this was the quality of the personnel. Over the decades, the local councils have been what they have been. Controversially, I said that they appeared like the poor cousins or the poorer cousins of the governance family. There are 3 tiers of government, and I think the Supreme Court ruled that no one is necessarily superior to the other. They are separate. But through the years, I wonder if it is your impression that it has impacted on people that are vying for office therein, simply because it's been seen as, well, after the federal, then you come to the state, and then the 3rd tier, in quote-unquote junior tier, would be local councils, contrary to what you've just explained, and which indeed is the right aspect with which to look at local councils. So I wonder, do you think, as it is, we have the kind of personnel to run affairs therein, or will that be something that will be developed going forward, where people that before now thought that I can't do anything less than federal or less than state. Now you can have caliber and timber people, as we say locally, working in the local councils, vying for office in the local councils.
Well, the reason for the failure of the local government over the years to deliver on the promise of good governance at the local level is not far-fetched. It's because of the method or the system by which the local government chairman or caretaker in this case are produced. Because since 1999, after this Association of Local Government ceded their authority to the states, and the states took over, governors started appointing caretaker. You can imagine that the caretaker chairman, for example, in those cases, they would only go there to carry out the wishes of the governor. So you're not likely to hear focus on road, focus on primary health care, do this, because all of these areas of governance are areas where you need to spend. And because the governors do not want to spend, they want to siphon the money of the local government allegedly, the local government chairmen do not have the freedom and the independence to deliver on the promise. That's one. Number 2, because the emergence of those chairmen or council, as the case may be, the caretaker council, as the case may be, was done by the governor by mere imposition. So sometimes his SA or his PA, who may not have connection to do with the grassroots, who is not known at the local level, but somebody who has been in with the governor, is now imposed on that local government. So he does not have idea of what the problems of the locality, and is not even interested in knowing that, because in the first place there is a disconnect. So because of that, over the years, the needs of the local government have not been taken care of, and we have seen the abuse of the local government system. The second part, which will lead to another angle of argument that I will talk to you about, is that for those ones that purportedly have what they call a democratically elected local government chairman, the other hurdle that they have is that the process by which they emerge is conducted by the State Electoral Commission. The State Electoral Commission, if you see the words of the Supreme Court, and even the Attorney General reiterated, it is like a stage play, like a role play, like a simulation. What looked like we conducted the election, but in actual fact, it is coronation of the choices of the governor. So there is no viable opposition. And it is like the coloration of the same appointment of chairman. So rather than you say, I appoint caretaker chairman, you now say, let us have a drama in which this caretaker chairman that I want will now come and pass through. So that is why we have a problem with local government administration in Nigeria. But there is an argument that if INEC, which is the national body, can intervene in the conduct of elections at the local level for the emergence of council chairmen, then we are likely to see the semblance of real competition. We are likely to see the emergence of those who have canvassed for the vote or who have a vision that may not be under this, the stooge or the pupillage or the control of the governor. And then when you have competition generally in life, that is when every competitor will try to do better because the masses will have options. It's just like in free market economy, where there is competition, you have good delivery of services and quality product, because if you don't provide good quality product and good services, somebody will switch to the other. But the absence of it is what brings about this imposition, which is the reason why there is no effectiveness and there is no real governance at the local level, which the governors are now using against the local government chairman.
Just as you said, everybody, almost, just about everybody, sees this as a positive thing, a good thing. Everybody is celebrating it and commending the federal government, the Attorney General, the President, for the initiative. But to return to the minority of naysayers, as a man of the law yourself, just what is it that they were talking about when they say that there are aspects of the Constitution that also need to be addressed in relation to seeing this to fruition?
So the argument that I have heard legal luminaries have canvassed is Section 2 of the Constitution of Nigeria, which to them says that the system of government in Nigeria is that you have the states and then you have the federal capital territory. So they make the case and the argument that since in the Constitution it says you have the state and the federal capital, it means that the local government is under the control and usurpation of the state governors, and that if the federal government is intervening in bringing autonomy to the local government, it amounts to infringing on the rights of the governors and thereby abusing the true federalism. Now, I hold a different view, and I also believe that that argument is misplaced. The reason is because in the rules of interpretation, even the Supreme Court has held in plethora of cases, there are interpretations given where the sections of statutes or the law are not very clear. So, for example, if one part of the Constitution is trafficating right and the other part is trafficating left, then in order to give the true meaning of what it means, you have to apply what we call conjunctive interpretation. You are reading this one in conjunction with the other in order to arrive at a direction. So those who argue in isolation, looking at Section 2, they are making an argument that we call disjunctive argument. They are separating Chapter 2 from all other sections of the Constitution to build a case around it. Yeah. But we hold the view that, and the Supreme Court has said, you have to bring all of these sections. So if you look at Section 2 that talks about the states and the federal capital, then you look at, the Section 2 that talks about the recognition of, democratically elected local government is Section 7, with Section 2 that talk about states. And you bring it in conjunction with Section 5 of the Constitution that talks about the power of the president to not only promote the Constitution, but to enforce the Constitution, right? And then you bring in the fourth schedule, because all of the schedules of the Constitutions, they give the details of all of the provisions of the Constitution, either regarding institutions or individuals. If you bring all of them together, then the true meaning and the spirit behind it is that there are three systems of government: the federal government, the state government, and the local government, which is what the Supreme Court, in the case of Attorney General versus the states of the Federation, re-emphasized that no one is superior to the other, but all of them are co-equal. And right. The judgment of court, that is what I want to point out, the judgment of court is valid, subsisting, and has universal application throughout the Federation of Nigeria. So whatever opinion you hold is no longer relevant because the Supreme Court has decided. The only option available is that the National Assembly can amend the Constitution. But as far as interpreting this is concerned, that judgment of the Supreme Court is the interpretation and the law regarding the matter.
Okay. Otumba Debo in Abeokuta, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Yes. Good morning,
Mr. Bwala.
Bwala, good morning. Formerly of PDP, now APC.
Forget about political party. Let's make an argument on law.
Look, my own concern is that of Afenifere. The Section 2 of the Constitution says to make the two tiers of government available, federal, state, and FCC. So the ideal thing is to have the two tiers and allow the state governors to create a number of local governments that it can cater for. That was what happened in the region the other day. And if you are talking of amending the constitution, which constitution? Out of 774 local governments, 2/3 of the local governments of 774 are in the north, to the detriment of the south of 1/3. So the National Assembly, that is the northern, that are dominated themselves in the National Assembly, that are enjoying the 2/3 of the local government, 774 local government, will alter the constitution to the disadvantage of them. No, what we need is a new constitution, not this Abdul Salam constitution that entrench all the 774 local government in the constitution, so that it could not be amended because they have the majority in the National Assembly. So we need new constitution, people's constitution, not a military constitution.
Okay, Otumba Debo, thank you for calling in. Well, that's an opinion there, right there for you. Would you like to comment on it?
Right. So I would say that his opinion has been expressed by actually a lot of people. And then the way to go about it, I would suggest to him is because he must belong to a state in Nigeria, and the state where he comes from has 3 senators and 9 House of Rep members that are currently serving in the National Assembly. He should hold what they call a constituency meeting or a town hall and impress upon all of their lawmakers in the state that this is our point at the moment. Go to National Assembly and make the case for that. And if all of the states of the Federation make the same case, the National Assembly will be forced to start the process of a new constitution.
Oh, okay.
The commencement of a new constitution, there are dynamics around the commencement of a new constitution. For example, if you want to have a new constitution, there are schools of thought that believe that this National Assembly does not have the power to make it because it has to be a constitution that comes from a referendum of the generality of the people. And then there are those who argue that, well, this National Assembly can bring out a new constitution. But amendment of the constitution actually is part of democratic development. If you look at America, they have more than 28 amendments since the inception of the republic. This thing he's saying can be amended and imported into the constitution where they will expand the number of local government to go beyond 774 to now incorporate states where they have created additional local government and local government administration, like, for example, Lagos State. So it is part of what everything is doable, right, to bring about a balance within the federation. But it will have to be through a constitutional means, which means all of your representatives are the ones you will impress upon them. But you are talking from where you are. Your lawmakers are talking a different thing. So they say if you are walking and nobody is following you, you are simply taking a walk.
Indeed. Okay. Ibrahim, calling in from Adamawa, is on the line. Good morning to you, Ibrahim.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir.
Good morning,
Mr. Bwala.
You know, Uncle Yori, we have three forms of government. We have the federal, the state, and the local government. So we recently, yesterday, as we can see, we have election of local government election in Adamawa State.
Okay.
And PDP have won all the 21 local government, all the councillors. So I think it's like the financial autonomy is not enough. Local government elections should be held by INEC. If to say now I want to contest for a councillor in my ward, I will represent my ward. I know people that are in my ward. When they elect me in a different political party, I have someone in AP, someone in PDP, someone in APGA, someone in Labour Party. My immediate ward will be easily represented at the local level. And the security, local government autonomy means security, means absolute security. Any security problem we have in this country is starting from the local government. No any security issues that arise from the state capital and grow. The banditry, the kidnapping, the Boko Haram issue all start in the local government. You can trace it. If people are well represented, This issue should not grow and become an international issue or national issue. It should not pass this local government. If they are holding a good election from the local government, if people are very represented, if you say now they have kidnapped people in certain ward in Adamawa State. For your chairman, you have a councillor, you have a chairman. Your chairman will be able, is the chief security of this local government. He will be able to conduct his councillor. Where did this happen? Where is the location? But if the kidnapping issue arises, you wait for the state government to send people or from the state to come. The security will just move moving around the street. They will not enter the bush or do something to prevent such issues. My own view is that I pray that one day you have the local government elections will be held by INEC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for calling in from Adamawa there. Okay, Mr. Bwala.
Yeah, what the case is making is the current trending conversation at the moment, because in order to give effect to the economic autonomy, which is the financial autonomy of the local government, you have to also bring electoral autonomy, or rather political autonomy, to the local government. And the political autonomy is the way by which, the way and means by which people who will govern in the local government will emerge. Because one fact is clear, like I said in my opening remarks, that without INEC or some semblance of transparency in the electoral process for the local government, the same governor who appointed the council chairman can organize what they call the election at the state level, but then we have had people saying that it is simply a simulation where this person will then pass through. And then they will say, okay, you asked for election, we have done that. You said democratically elected, democratically he has emerged, but he will carry out his own. So I have suggested that the Attorney General can still approach the Supreme Court and make a case for certain provisions of the constitutions that guarantee transparency, bring in the judgment of the Supreme Court in order to give effect to the judgment, and ask for interpretation whether, given the circumstance, the national INEC cannot conduct local government election. And since the Supreme Court is not just a code of law, but code of policy, like they applied public policy in the judgment, in this case, they might consider again the need for them to bring in public policy and make a pronouncement that INEC, given the circumstance, should be the body recognized by law to conduct local government election. And if the court arrive at that, then that means, without having to wait for the constitutional amendment, that means INEC will henceforth be the body that will conduct local government election. It is doable. And the reason I say it is doable is because nobody thought, when Attorney General approached the court, that the court was going to give a verdict separating the accounts of the state and the local government, which is considered as joint, to now say, put the money in a separate account to be called the local government account. If the Supreme Court will be bold to make public policy decisions like that, I believe that if the Attorney General approach the court, they will make a public policy decision that INEC, given the circumstance, should be the body recognized by law to conduct local government election, because that will be the true reflection of the letters, the spirit, and the intent of the lawmakers.